friends, how's it going today? We are going to be exploring a new brand that I found new at Ulta recently, and it's called Undone Beauty, and it is kind of a minimalist makeup brand. And the look of the products just really intrigued me. You know, I'm not necessarily one who would call themselves minimalist, but I love all makeup. I love trying all different kinds. And it seemed to me like some of these different products, as you're gonna see as they go on, really gear themselves toward multitasking. And I also think it's kind of a reasonably priced brand as well. If you look at their website, they say at Undone, our mission is clean, vegan, cruelty-free, multitasking makeup that's actually affordable so you can look amazing with less. They say unretouched models always. They claim to have luxury quality products and handmade tools starting at $7. So there were enough things in this line that I thought, that sounds interesting, that sounds interesting. Just concepts that seemed really appealing to me. So I thought, hey, let's go for it. Let's try everything and do a video on it. And yeah, just going through prices here, on average, we're looking at $10 to $12 for most of the products. So kind of like on the little more expensive end of drugstore. So when I was first shopping for the stuff, I got this Conceal to Reveal palette, 3-in-1 coverage cream. And for some reason, I was picturing this as being maybe an all-over coverage product. It really is more of a concealer. Maybe depending on the shade you pick, you could sheer it out and probably pretty easily make it like an all-over cream foundation. But for me, this shade kind of has to be concealer. So that's kind of like my bad. I kind of wish I would have grabbed one of their skin tints. They have a matte one and I think a dewy or glowy one. But to simulate having something like that on the skin from this line, I actually put on my Clinique Moisture Surge Sheer Tint Hydrator. So this is in the shade Universal Light, and I have that on all over my skin right now. It's providing just very light coverage, a good amount of moisture. I really like this product. Let's start the video on the new brand, talking about something from a brand that has nothing to do with all this. But now we're gonna move on to this product. And here's the interesting thing about what's in there. Do you see how it's like 3 panels of product practically? They aren't claiming to put in 3 different shades here. They're putting in 3 different coverage levels. And there's another product like this for lip and cheek that does the same thing. So it's divided up into sheer, medium, and full coverage. And I actually had to go to their own website to see officially what they were labeled as, because I was thinking maybe the middle one actually felt like the fullest coverage, but it's hard to tell when they're all exactly the same shade. But this is your lightest, then medium, and then full. So that's a concept I've never really heard about before within one package like that. And then we also have a lip to cheek palette that does the same thing. I've got powder, I got one of these eye palettes, I got a couple of different things for highlighting and bronzer that just have those kind of strips. They kind of make me think of that Physicians Formula shimmer strip idea, which is very versatile and very multitasking friendly. So for right now, we've got that tinted moisture on and we're gonna jump into this. So let's use some of the lightest cream first and just kind of show you what this amounts to, and then maybe we build a bit on it. I'm using it pretty generously and just tapping it on my under eye area. I'm gonna use it as kind of like all over brightening. And there's a smoothness, kind of a thinness that I definitely can feel in that one. Okay, so I've got all my different areas sort of mapped out there. And this sponge, you guys, okay, look at this. What is this? This is one of the mini Real Techniques sponges, and it's been dampened, so it's grown in size a bit. But what an unusual size. You know, it's much bigger than a Beauty Blender Micro Mini or whatever they call that. It looks like just a traditional mini makeup sponge in the packaging. It comes in like a 4-pack, but you dampen it, and it gets to be this really interesting in-betweener size. So anyway, I'm going to use that and just get this shade blended in. So this is our lighter coverage shade in the palette. It's funny how different brands just, you know, have their emphasis, you know, like I look at Huda because I've been using that new Huda foundation quite a bit, and it's more about making that coverage statement, right? Full coverage. And this brand, just if you look at the aesthetic sort of on their website, you can see it's just going a little more natural, and that's fine. All right, so this is what we're looking like. I just wanted to show you with like the lightest option there on my skin. See how it looks kind of dewy and radiant, and the coverage, I'm gonna be honest, it leaves me kind of wanting a little more in some areas. Let's skip down to the fuller coverage one, and there I can definitely feel with that one and the middle one more thickness in the product, a little less shininess. I can even tell just as I've put it on the skin right there. Maybe we'll take a little bit of the medium out in this area because I use that over a little wider, you know, surface area. And let's just try that on for size. The first time I used this, I did go ahead and like try it all over as foundation. And I just thought, oops, got an eyelash there, trying to get embedded in all this. But I blended it all over the skin and I could see it working out okay that way. But the shade just, it looked off on me because the shade is so light. Perfect for under eye concealer color, but just not a shade I would wear all over. So watch out for that. Think about that. You think about your purpose for this if you're looking at shades. So with the addition of the fuller coverage concealer, suddenly I feel a little less dewy on the under eye area, a bit more matte and finish. There's just not as much moisture in that texture. I may take a little bit, let's just take the medium and pop it right up here for a little brightness. Okay. But this is easy to work with, easy to blend in. I feel like it got me where I wanted to be. And definitely a cool concept with those different coverage levels. I'm trying to think, is there something from Laura Mercier, like a certain kind of concealer that might have a couple of different formulas in it? I'm not certain on that. When you see something like this, you expect it to be a variance in shade, but it's really just a variance in texture. So now we're gonna do a little bit of setting because especially with this underneath, you know, I've got a lot of moisture here on the skin. I do wanna set it. And I got this under over powder, 2-in-1 prime and set powder. So if you're one who likes to prime everything with powder, consider that. This is in 510 light. Did I say that I got this in buttercream medium light? Oh, interesting. It's designed and distributed by True Fragrance and Beauty in Willowbrook, Illinois, but it's made in Taiwan. So this powder, if you're wanting to stay within this brand and get a look that is more matte and a little less dewy on the surface of the skin, this is where that's gonna come from because we do have, you know, a lot of glow coming from some of the other products. This is kind of that just mattify it, take the shine down type of step. I'm gonna use my e.l.f. small tapered brush. If I just go lightly into this, I pick up a good amount of product. And I'm going to pat this around my under eye because I know that if I am dewy and creamy on that under eye, if I've got anything makeup-wise, eye makeup-wise going on the lower lash line, I'm going to have Transfer City down there. So I really want to set that. And I'm setting my T-zone too. I really like how this shade does not dull down the skin, does not darken it at all. And suddenly I'm in a place where I feel full coverage, you know, like maybe not all over my entire skin, but on the areas that I've worked with concealer and now I've gone ahead and mattified them, I feel full coverage there. Needed a sip of coffee on this morning. I woke up early because Bub was snoring. No offense, Bub, but dang. It was like 4:30 and it was just that tipping point time where I'm like, I kind of have to go to the bathroom. I'm kind of super awake right now. He's kind of snoring a lot. I think I'll just get up. Now we're going to move into one of my favorite products from what I've tried here. It's called the Warm Up Bronzer Plus Glow Giving Coconut Extract 4-in-1 Radiance Palette. So this is big. And also I'd like to say that the packaging on all this stuff has a very like sturdy feel to it. It's like kind of thicker than you expect. When I opened it all up, it just had a more expensive feel to it than I was thinking it would have. But what we have here are 2 tones of bronzer. So you're kind of holding the bag on this one. If you don't like the way the tone of this bronzer turned out, you know, you can give a different ratio of these different shades. We've got this really dark kind of reddish tone one. We've got kind of a rich caramely one. And then you got a couple of shimmer shades down here. You can do a big circle buff and blend, or I think you kind of got to respect that a lot of powder can come up when you put your brush into this, so it might just be light, gentle dabs in between the layers if you want more of a luminous bronzer effect. Or you can keep it matte. Like, I like that they didn't just splice the highlighter shades in between our matte bronzers, right? Because that would be kind of hard to manage. But you could also make these all be individual eyeshadows very easily. I mean, can't you see the eye look just coming together as you look at that? And I love that the glowy powders are not chunky. They do not have glitter in them. It's just, I'm going to say a lot of the same things about this that I say about the highlighter palette, in that there's a lot of versatility and there's beautiful textures in here. So here's what I'm going to do first off. I'm going to kind of just take my brush and lightly dab it. I hope I was holding that in the frame when I did that. BK Beauty 107, kind of my favorite bronzer brush. And I just dabbed across my top couple of shades. And I feel like the blend of them both ends up being my perfect bronzer color. And again, if you want it to look a little more reddish, if you want a little more richness, place your brush a bit more into that top part. But you just have so much control over the shade you end up with here, and I think that's really nice. I'm going to contour a little bit with it. So when you talk about minimalist makeup, I mean, you take that as far as you want to go with it, right? I mean, you can grab just a lip color, maybe a little bit of concealer, and throw on the mascara or the brow product or something, and boom, done. And that can look very minimalist, but you can kind of go the full route that we're going to be going in this video, which is pretty much every step in its entirety, and you can look pretty done as well, as opposed to undone. It's your call. And now, I'm just kind of dabbing all over this thing. I'm taking some of this bronzer down the neck area. Try to go for all exposed skin when you're doing your bronzer. So yeah, I am loving that. I think that's awesome, and I see just a ton of multitasking ability in that with your two purely matte shades, your two shimmer shades. This could be the highlight. Yes, I got this highlighter palette, but if you weren't wanting to buy a ton of different things, this could be bronzer and highlight together. And honestly, if you took maybe this top shade, I'm picturing it, and really sheared that out, that could maybe even look like a blush on some people. Just slightly. It wouldn't be the most satisfying blush for me, but I'm just saying, you can stretch this stuff. So we used our Conceal to Reveal, our cream palette, where we established our coverage on top of a tinted moisturizer. We popped on powder, and immediately things really started looking full coverage then, where we had the concealer, and then the warm up bronzer with all these layers that you can work with. Now we're gonna use the Lip to Cheek palette, which follows the same concept as the concealer, in that we're going sheer, medium, and full coverage with this, but all pretty much the same shade, okay? So this is in 310 Rosy. This one becomes a little bit harder just depending on the type of brush you're working with. If you want to go into this with a brush, it's not like it's gonna be a huge deal if I tap slightly into one or the other because they're all the same shade, but confining a synthetic blush brush to some part of this might be a little tricky. You can also just use your fingers. What I'm gonna do is start off with the sheer and just kind of tap into that. I'm using this Sephora Pro Mini Flawless Airbrush, but if you're wanting to get this currently in full size, because this was sort of a perk, the foundation brush is called the 56. By the way, same size brush head and everything. And that's from the Sephora brand. But here we are dabbing the lightest, sheerest one. I should say sheerest. Most sheer. Okay? So I can see it, but it is super soft. So let's go down a little bit. Let's kick it up a notch. I can already feel just a little more pull as I take my brush across the middle one compared to the top one, which has a little more glide. Blend that out. Now seeing a lot more color. Really pretty. I'm not having any problem blending this. Now I'm kind of blending them both because I think the top one, a little addition of that type of formula into the middle one makes it blend a little easier. But I just want you to see what this is capable of. I haven't even dipped down into the bottom yet. I think I'm gonna toss that on the lips for a minute at least so you can see, because I do have a separate freestanding lip color that I want to use today. Really fresh, pretty color. I'm wondering how much I need 3 different textures in this. Like, I really value that concept in the concealer. Here, I don't know. I'd be content to almost just dab in anywhere, and I think it would work out. But that looks super fresh, youthful, pretty, great tone. And then if you want to see a little bit of this on the lips, let's take that fullest coverage shade and just pop it on here so you can see if you would be interested in that shade on the lips. It's light pink, it's fine. Got some dry crusties there. It's not really the kind of shade I'd be looking to wear every day on my lips, but maybe paired in with something else. Let's take a little bit of the shinier one, or more sheer dewy one. Once you put something on the lips, I feel like you have a very quick ability to discern between, is it shiny and moisturizing and hydrating, or is it matte? And it seems more like it's coming off matte to me, even the one right up top. So that's the effect. Put it on the lips. Then we're gonna go to this product called Nonzer, and this is the 4-in-1 highlighting palette. They say plus glow giving coconut extract. I think that's also what the bronzer said, yes. But what we have in here are 4 distinct shades of highlight. They are big enough if you wanna see my like Real Techniques setting brush that I'm loving for highlighter these days. I took the end off because this is an older brush, and when I was washing it, the end was really like oddly tacky. You may have noticed that with some of your Real Techniques brushes, but it works fine now. I just pulled it off. And as you can see, there's plenty of room for this to fit in any of those shades. If I want to confine it there, you can use it all. If you just use this shade, the other day I just used that as my highlight, and I gotta say it was gorgeous. Like, it was icy, cool, ice princess, beautiful. Today, let's just kind of dab all over. Dab all over, tap off the excess. It's really pretty. I love the versatility in it. I like that it's, again, with the formula, not chunky, not unnatural looking, not glitter packed. See, you're just gonna see beautiful sheen on the surface of the skin. And you can create your own tone. See how there is one kind of goldeny shade in there? So you can make it warmer if you want it warmer. If you stick to just the top couple of shades, you end up with more of a pearlescent, sort of classic highlighter vibe. And then you've got that really neat, cool color down at the bottom. If you're buying the bronzer already, this wouldn't be absolutely necessary, but it is fun, I will say. I'm taking some of this across the forehead too. I love this. When I think of different tones of highlight that I've used over time, like I can picture all of these different shades, right? And it's just all been packed into one. Maybe I take the lightest color and highlight the Cupid's bow a bit. Really pretty. Those could be light washes of color, like as eyeshadow if you wanted them to be. I'm really impressed by the powder formula. Just the size of these, I think they're versatile and fun and really cool. I'm gonna throw on a little bit of setting spray, which I did not get from this brand, but it's just my Catrice HD Active Performance Freezing Spray. Just gives me the best chance of some long wear with this. Love it, love it. I got a brow product. It's kind of a 2-in-1, and I feel like I can't really use it. Like, I can't use all of it because there's this pen, okay? And it's really, really dark. It looks darn near black, although I'm sure I didn't order black. I probably ordered something called dark brown. And it is a brush tip pen, and it's not quite as opaque as an eyeliner pen would be, but it's really dark. And I went way overboard the first couple times I used this. It's just a little too dark for me. But also in that same product, you have a little brow mascara, brow gel. So here's what I'm gonna do today, you guys. In the spirit of sticking with this brand, I'm gonna go to my eye palette. Now this is called the Curator Eye Palette in the shade 710 Bare. I think they had 2 eye palette options. I went with the more neutral one, and they say that this contains conditioning castor oil and transforms from shadow to liquid liner. So I've tried that before too with this one, and it definitely works. But for now, I'm gonna go into this matte dark brown that we have here, and I'm just going to use that to do a gentle fill in, and then I'll set with the gel provided. It's kind of like a neat concept in the brow thing. I could see it working definitely for some people. For me, my brows are already kind of thick, and then I go in with something that's just so dark and so full color, and it overwhelmed the face, honestly. I had trouble keeping it under control. I can control almost any pencil, any powder, any cream, but when you've got certain something that's rich, kind of flowing from a liner style pen, it's very hard to keep that under control. But this shadow is working out really nicely. And then I will, like I said, go into this gel. It has a very fine brush, and it does have a decent amount of color tint. I just swatched a little from the tip there. Dark brown, but more in a sheer capacity, you know, compared to the pointed tip end. I feel like maybe I'm getting a little bit of hold out of this. I forgot to be super noticing of that the last few times I've worn it. I'm more so like paying attention to the skin and how the concealer wears. Well, the day I wore the concealer all over the skin, I did not like my overall staying power, but used more as concealer paired with a different, just standard foundation the other day, I really did go for that. It was fine. Man, I put a lot of highlighter on. Kind of fluff up the brows, and I do feel some hold. Now that that's really drying down, I can tell that it's pretty locked in. I put in a little more of the gel than I had in days past, and I can feel the hold more. I'm just putting on a little bit from my fresh tube of Milani eyeshadow primer, and we're gonna use this little eye palette. The eye palette for me, I'm just going to tell you, I think it's pigmented and nice, and I do think this brand does the powder formula as well, but I'm not really like shouting from the rooftops on this one. I don't know, guys, there's just a lot of eye palettes out there, okay? It is going to take a certain something special to really capture my attention. I feel like they did that with several of the face things. This eye palette, let's just use it, and you can be the judge for yourself. We appear to have like a couple of sections almost in here. One would create just a light, really natural look. One has some richer tones. I've turned this shade into eyeliner, like they said, dampened my angled brush, used it like that, worked well. We've got a deep matte couple of shades here with a dark cool brown and a dark burgundy. This is matte and this is matte, and the rest are shimmers. So we've got a goldeny coppery thing here, another softer gold, a really light shimmery white, and this kind of pinky tone shade has some shimmer as well. I'm going to go into that center shade on this side that looks matte because it just looks like it's saying, hey, put me in your crease. So I will. On my skin tone, I mean, it's giving really nice, light, natural definition. Did I mention that this shade is matte also, that brown? But there's that, no big deal. We may go ahead and deepen it up with that soft brown. And now let's go into this burgundy. Get a little bit of that on the same brush. Suddenly the look is becoming a bit richer. I do love that there's a burgundy in here. I think part of the thing is I've been playing with Lorac palettes a lot lately. My Noir, the Soleil, the Meraki palette, and I've just been very impressed. So this guy kind of has a high standard to live up to. But there we go. We've got a soft crease using a combination of this, this, and this. Let's take a flat brush and just kind of show you how some depth lays down here. Let's use the dark, cool brown. I feel like the strips are wide enough to fit pretty much any brush I would need to put in. But some of the shades take just a little building, like a shade this dark, but yet I'm still having to kind of build that up. They're not exactly what you see is what you get. Keep in mind though, the brand is called Undone Beauty. They may not be going for the biggest glam and all that. That's fine. I'm just letting you know what to expect. See that? That cool brown, they seem to blend easily. I'm wedging a little bit of that right into my crease. Now I'm trying to remember what I did. I know I took one of these shades the other day on my lid, and today let's take some of this softer gold from this side, that one right there. It's got just a little bit of a fine sparkle in it. Ooh, that's pretty. I hadn't really used that one yet. I do like it. Kind of a champagne-y gold all over the inner part of the lid. I do enjoy how that was just immediate, boom, there for me. Pretty. Now let's think about taking my even smaller brush here, my E27, same exact shape as the E25, just giving you a little more focus back into the burgundy, proving to ourselves that we can build these mattes. I can dig it, I can get on board, but it's just not going to have some of the game-changing qualities that I appreciate in some of the other products they've come out with. But it's still nice, you know, if you wanted to stick with this brand. I don't think it's like a disappointing, problematic eye palette or anything like that. Taking a bare brush, just going over my edge a bit. And what do you say we use some of this light shade right here, that icy white. Look at that. I mean, the shimmers did not come to mess around at all. That inner corner pop is on fire. It's like this palette keeps hearing me saying, yeah, I wasn't really that wowed by it, and then boom, another shadow just executing flawlessly. Now I will tell you, the other day I took, actually it was this brush that I used in my brows today, I took this and I misted it, and then I went into the black at the end and I used it very easily as eyeliner. I'm not going to do that today because I want you to get an even better look at what the mascara is doing, but I'm just letting you know it worked fine. You could probably do that with any of the deeper shades if you wanted to. But the mascara, oh, this might be my least favorite product. I've used it a couple times, one time in combination with another thing, one time on its own, and I want more. I want more. I know we're dealing in natural vibes here, but your girl wants big lashes. I don't have big lashes naturally, so I need a mascara who comes ready to work, okay? This one's ready to darken up your lashes, maybe define your lashes a little bit, but it's not wowing the crowd, you know. It does come in a squeezy tube, rubber bristled brush with a bit of a curve. I like a nice gradual curve like that because, you know, I've seen some much more exaggerated curved brushes and it's like, whose eye is shaped like that? I want you to see. Okay, we've got a layer of, you know, just kind of darkening up. Light and natural. If you were going for no makeup, if you were literally trying to convince somebody that you didn't have anything on, maybe that's where this comes in. It does just kind of look like my natural lashes, but better. Sadly, that's not my goal. But there we are. I'm gonna go ahead and curl this side and then we will reapproach the right eye and just give it a little something more, just so I can show you the small bit of building this can do. But it definitely reaches a point where it doesn't build forever, at least on my lashes, because I don't have a ton of lashes. It's already feeling like a little bit dried down from the last coat. Not 100% there, but just a little bit. And that's kind of as much as I'm gonna get. Light and natural look. I can't get over all the highlighter I have on. Maybe I need to go over it a little bit with some powder, but I don't know. I'm feeling pretty fresh. I'm gonna wipe off any excess that I can. It kind of like stained my lips a little bit, that cream blush. My goodness. Can't hardly rub any off. That's okay. What's going on top of it is definitely gonna be opaque enough to just show up on its own. I got one of their lipsticks. It's the Light on Lip in Sunset Rose. So it's kind of like a skinny lipstick, and this is my shade, and it does have a little bit of glow in there, a little bit of gentle shimmer. I wouldn't call it an all-out like hardcore frost, but there's a little shimmer in this shade, and I like it because I feel like there's not much shimmer in a lot of lip products. I found that as I was trying to find a dupe for that Fenty like lip balmy type stuff. You know, it had a little bit of shimmer, and I was finding very few things in my collection that also matched that. So as you can see, this shade's pretty pinky with a little splash of berry, and it's also got kind of a glossy little bit of shine that you can see. A nice slip across the lips, moisturizing. Feels pretty much like lip balm, I would say, and the staying power is not gonna blow your mind. That's not really what this kind of product's going to be about. You don't put on a creamy lipstick and say, oh, I rely on you to stay all day. Just not what it's going to do. It's not what any brand is going to do, unless it's really like setting and, you know, it's not in it for the long haul, but you can certainly reapply. I was just kind of blinking down on the lash to reinforce the curl. Just go ahead and let your hair down. So here's the finished look, you guys. All with this brand, except for just like the little bit of tinted moisturizer that I had underneath, which was very light coverage from Clinique. So I feel like this concealer was bearing the brunt of the coverage work today. Least favorite things, I think, would be the mascara, the brow. Maybe if the formula in that pen was just a little bit softer and lighter, I could have enjoyed that more. But as it stands right now, those are not my faves. I really think the eye palette is fine. It's gonna take a little bit more to like really grab my attention from an eye palette because there's just so much out there, so many neutral palettes as well. Maybe I'd be well off trying like their other shade in this, which seemed a little more colorful. It's good, I'm just not jumping up and down about it. The lip to cheek palette, nice. Again, kind of cool with that concept of the textures being a little bit different within this one palette, but all the same shade. That being said, there are a lot of creamy blush products coming out right now, like lots. I can get a very similar look from many different brands. I could maybe go a couple dollars less, and we've got putty blushes from e.l.f. We've got the new ColourPop serum blushes. We've got Milani doing cream blushes. There's just loads of options out there, so it doesn't have to be this. This didn't really strike me really as all that unique because I sort of ended up just bouncing around between the textures since they were all the same color anyway. This powder is absolutely fine. I thought it paired nicely with the concealer. I don't think this is the only powder that can do what this does. You know, it's just kind of a basic function in a makeup line to have that light pressed powder that's going to mattify, that's going to set things. I could pull in my Rimmel Stay Matte and probably get a very similar result. But when we start getting into the Conceal to Reveal palette, which I found interesting, that there were these 3 different textures that you can really notice a difference between. I think definitely between the first one and then the second 2. I really noticed that sheerness, that dewiness out of the top one, and then a little more richness out of these bottom 2. I think the coverage is nice. I mean, they applied easily. I like just blending them in with a beauty blender. Here's a situation where they're really doing something that we're not already seeing left and right. And I loved these two. Both of these, if I had to just keep one, I guess I'd have to go with this just because there is a little more versatility in this one with the 2 shades of bronzer. You can't be complaining about bronzer tone when you have these 2 shades that can really let you customize it. And then also the chance to bring in the glow or wear them separate. These could be just perfect highlighters on their own. And then this highlighter, guys, it's so pretty. I love that it's literally like any tone of highlighter you could want to use, but it's all together in one. You can mix them and stir them and blend them. You can wear them all on their own. Every texture is great. There's nothing in here that's going to be flaky or unnatural looking on the skin. I mean, it can get kind of loud as you can see, but it's really a nice product. And I like the lip color too, and I may just look into some other shades because I like the idea of having a little shimmer. I wonder if some of the other shades are like that. I think it would be beneficial if they could identify that on the website. But yeah, let me know what you think, you guys. If you've tried any of this stuff, I'd love your feedback as well. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you very soon. Love you. Bye.